I think right now is a time to recalibrate and reintroduce a really important concept that has kind of been left out of justice spaces for a while, for good reason, but it's hurting us, and I want to talk about it briefly. The sanitized messaging of MLK has been so thoroughly co-opted by neoliberal ghouls, essentially, that it's left a bad taste in our mouth, I believe, to talk about unity and to talk about uniting across ethnic and racial lines. And it has led to, though very understandable, a lot of tribalism that is actually hurting our cause right now. And ditto, the like conspirituality, like alt-right spiritual pipeline thing of like, oh, I don't see race and like we're all human beings. Like that's the most common usage of that sort of sentiment that we hear these days. And I think I mean, it's understandable why none of us fuck with it anymore. However, we do have to remember that race, ethnicity, culture, all these things are like, they're real, but they're also kind of fake. And they also have been laid out for us by the overculture. Like, it's absolutely true that we shouldn't give a shit about people's packaging, for good or for bad, right? But that idea has been used to broom away discussions of the very real oppression that some people face because of said packaging. So what we need to do now is reintegrate the understanding, the very deep and true understanding that the coalition that we need going forward is one that cares about everyone equally, is one that cares about humanity, is one that cares about our shared future because we share a world. There are no lines, whether it's borders, whether it's ethnicities, there are no lines that nature respects when it comes to our survival and the unity that we need in order to move forward. When people care about or fight for issues that don't directly affect them, they are often looked at or said to be disingenuous or that they don't know what they're talking about. And who do you think that rhetoric helps? It helps the overculture that hates all of us. Because I, as a queer black witch, should not care only about other people in those demographics. And I don't. I fight for anyone who is suffering under the overculture, which is honestly most of us in one way or the other. And that's the coalition. Because the winning coalition isn't going to be all black people or all Asian people or all Christians or all, it's not going to fall under any of those lines. It's going to be people who have made the choice because of the information that they see and because of the heart that they have to fight for everyone. And they're going to look a lot of different ways. They're going to have a lot of different opinions. And that's what we're talking about when we say that we need to not worry about what people's packaging is. Not that we should ignore it. Not that we should ignore, the differences that people bring to the table. That's actually great. It's like a party in D&D. You don't want to have only rogues or you're going to get got by one fire. And I know some of you really got that and some of you really didn't, but bear with me. If you had a group of 5 people, wouldn't it be better to have each person have a slightly different background so that they had insight into different ways to attack the system, into things that you haven't experienced or don't know, or at least don't know like right off the top of your head and haven't like lived through? So now when we talk about the idea that we are all in this together, which is true, whether you like to admit it or not, we all, at least from climate change. That is the one thing that unifies everybody, and there's no way around it. There is no single group coalition that is going to help us stop climate change. It just doesn't make sense even to think about it that way. And once you start thinking about that, then it extends to everything else. Because when it comes down to it, the people who have a coalition against us all, even though they mostly share the same phenotype and demographic, like they don't really care about that stuff either. They care about the power and the money above all. Step outside yourself and make connections with people who don't look like you. Make connections with people who will be in rooms with no one that looks like you or has your background, because that's where you need people to fight for you because you will never be in those rooms. Case in point, growing up as a black person, I heard a lot of, anti-Semitic things. I heard a lot of things that were prejudicial against people in other groups. And of course, black people can't be racist because we don't have to have this discussion again. But prejudicial things are still not fucking going to fly in front of me. You're not going to say some out of pocket shit about somebody because of who they are, who they were born in front of me, and not have me push back on you. And I hope the same is true for anyone with whom I am deeply connected and in community with. In fact, I wouldn't be in community or in connection with people if I didn't suspect that that was the case. So get to work diversifying your party, because The beast we're fighting has a lot of different weapons, and we need every different strategy we can employ against it.